Hi, everyone. So last time I took center stage at Phocuswright, I was also speaking about short-term rentals. And it was a little apropos because I called them a pandemic phoenix story for rising from the figurative ashes of the economic downturns that we saw during COVID. So it feels appropriate that now that we are in Phoenix, we can have a little bit of a data-based catch-up before hearing from panelists about this topic and speak about how short-term rentals are looking in a post-COVID, quote-unquote, normalized kind of world. Now, starting with some data from Phocuswright's global sizings on the short-term rental sector, one of the first things to note is that in 2021, short-term rental global gross bookings actually surpassed those of 2019. So that's a very healthy indicator. And then this year, in 2022, we're forecasting $137.3 billion in gross bookings. That's going to continue to rise pretty steadily to over $184 billion in gross bookings by 2026. Now, when you look at that V-shaped recovery between 2019 and 2021, something good to note is that a lot of that is spurred right here from the US market. So bringing this back home in the US this year, we're forecasting $53.5 billion in short-term rental gross bookings. That's a 26% increase from 2021. Now, those super robust two-digit numbers, those are not something that's going to be sustainable indefinitely into the long term. However, we're forecasting 9% year-over-year growth between 2022 and 2023. So still some very healthy rates of growth that we're expecting to see. However, with growth decelerating, it also means that competition is going to change. And there are a lot of players who have to crack down strategically a little bit to figure out how they can continue to really remain competitive in the market. Now, while bookings are still increasing, another really important thing to note is that the sector is really professionalizing over time. In 2019, we projected that 34%, about 1 in 3, of total short-term rental units in the US was run by a formalized property management firm. Now, that's been growing steadily. It was 41% in 2021, and it's something that's going to rise steadily. Now, it's not a situation where you want to rule out those mom and pop players. Those independent hosts listing a short-term rental, they're still a majority of the space in the US. However, when you have a space where you have that rising impact of professional property managers mixed with a very large pool of independent hosts, it brings up a situation where there's not a lot of consensus on consistency, on product standards, on what constitutes a good stay, and on what a really good short-term rental experience should look like. And when we ask travelers in our Phocuswright surveys about what's really important to them in short-term rentals, some of the big ones are having a sense of character and local immersion. Privacy was a really big asset in the space, especially during COVID. That became extra important. It's more personalized and also has more potential to provide value for the money and overall comfort, especially with that potential for having extra rooms, home-like amenities. Those feelings of value and comfort can really be bolstered. But when new challenges emerge, new strategies are also needed. So in a bustling and a blossoming ecosystem of platforms, tech providers, professionalized property managers, mom and pop hosts, and ancillaries, who bears the burden for guest services? Who bears the burden for making a good stay? And what is a good stay in this space anyway? Where do we go from here?